To me, a pioneer is someone who has the courage to step out on faith and do what seems to be impossible. Hi, my name is Denny Heydrich, and I'm your Executive Director at the Illinois Baptist Children's Home and Family Services. Today, I'd like to tell you the story of the pioneering spirit of a few men 100 years ago. You see, in 1917, we were on the heels of a world war, and there was also a Spanish flu epidemic sweeping through the Midwest that left many children in our state orphaned. A group of Baptist men in 1917 responded to a call from the Illinois Baptists to prayerfully consider purchase of property somewhere in the state to begin an orphanage to care for these children. There were 7 men in Carmi, Illinois, who along with 20 families went in together to raise the money to buy 40 acres of land in White County, Illinois. Together, these men and those families, along with Illinois Baptists across the state, came together and formed what would become the Baptist Orphanage at Carmi.
From the abuse that me and my sister had went through our whole life for 6 or 7 years, that night that we were taken away, we were put in foster homes. Our foster families put us in a children's home. I went to the Carmi Baptist Children's Home. I hated everybody. I didn't know what was going on, why we were taken away or anything, but I know now that in my later life that this children's home was what I needed in my life. I had to go to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night. The most wonderful thing is that I come to know my Lord through that. Because people cared so much about me. They showered us with concerns and caring, but most of all for the love that they had for the Lord. Because of the counseling that I received, that I have forgiven my parents of the things that they did to me. And I just want to thank the Carmi Baptist Children's Home for that opportunity to be able to help me to come to know the Lord and to help me to grow and get the counseling that I needed.
When I was 15 years old, I was going through some rough patches in my life. My stepfather at the time, him and I were not getting along. So I brought the children's home up to my mom. Royce and Carolyn Hawkins were my house parents at that time, and we are still close to each other even now. Whenever I met up with Royce, he became that stable father figure in my life. Carolyn was also very supportive and loving. I have become a house parent here at the children's home. I knew back whenever I was 13 years old that God was going to place me in a role to help with basically teenage girls that needed help. So I've been here now for about a year. I started out as a relief house parent. I'm currently in a primary house parent role. I'm just so thankful that I'm able to feed into these girls and show them the love that my house parents showed to me. Not to mention the staff here, they're amazing. A year ago this month, I lost my oldest son, and they were just so supportive and compassionate and caring. Through the years of my own life, the struggles I've had in my life, I know that God's used this time in my life to turn my messes into my message.
The historic decision in 1973 of Roe versus Wade presented a new threat to families by legalizing abortion on demand. 1 year after this terrible decision, the Baptist Children's Home and Family Services responded by opening the Brooks Clark Maternity Home in Carmi, Illinois. This home was for young women who found themselves in a crisis pregnancy, yet who wanted to keep their baby. Later, in the early 90s, the maternity home was moved to Mount Vernon and renamed Angels Cove.
We came to Angels Cove because we had heard of it through some friends of ours, through our church, and we thought it would be the place that could help us with our adoption.
We went through the home study process, the licensing, the interviews, and we waited and we were put on the list. To be expecting your first child is, I don't know, it's a joy you can't really explain in words. How long went by?
It was about 2 years, almost exactly, and we were chosen to adopt our son, Aiden. But the agency had chose us. The birth mom had decided not to choose. So we were chosen to adopt Aiden, and he's 5 now. About 2.5 years later, we were chosen by a birth mom to adopt Ariana, who is 2.5.
We met some of the greatest people here at Angels Cove, the adoption specialists, the people, the house parents. Everybody played a role in helping us get the 2 wonderful children we have. Great relationships, all built here.
Life's challenges can hit us at any moment during our life. These might be a moment of grief or loss or emotional challenges which make life difficult. Partnering with many churches through the Illinois Baptist Aid Association, in 1999, the Baptist Children's Home and Family Services responded to a new increasing need in our state. We formed the Pathways Christian Counseling Ministry. Through Pathways Counseling, we help over 600 people a year so that they can know the amazing plan that God has for them.
In 2011, my cousin, who was my best friend, got diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And I saw him struggle through about 2.5 years. Not long after my cousin passed away, I discovered that I was experiencing infertility. And I started dealing with feelings of inadequacy. Didn't feel like I was man enough. You know, a real man, I wasn't gonna have my own children. Never really dealt with the issues with my cousin and the loss of my best friend. All right, I went on a website that day for the Baptist Children's Home and checked out the Pathways Counseling. And I was able to have some meetings with a counselor who was just amazing. My fears and my qualms were immediately eased. It was just like 2 guys hanging out and having a conversation. And it was just incredible how much of a difference that made in my life. And I was able to share things with my wife. So what Pathways did for my life, you know, I can't thank my counselor enough. And I'm just so grateful that that service was there.
The story of the Baptist Children's Home and Family Services is made up of thousands of stories just like these. Lives changed forever because Illinois Baptists were faithful to build a place that helped children and families deal with their struggles. As we begin the next century of ministry for the Baptist Children's Home and Family Services, it's humbling to me to think that we are now the pioneers blazing the trails for the next 100 years. I want to thank you for your partnership, for your prayers, and for your support of this ministry. It's only with your help that we can continue to battle the spiritual forces seeking to destroy our families. Our families are worth fighting for.